Okay, good morning, guys. How are you today? It's nice being with you again, and you are welcome to the biology class. So, in this class, I will be talking about blood vessels. Blood vessels. Remember, we've talked about the pumping organ, which is the heart, and we've also talked about the fluid, which is the blood, circulatory fluid, which is the blood. So in this video, we're talking basically on the blood vessel. What do you understand by blood vessel? Blood vessel basically refers to the tubes within the body through which or to the heart for the blood to take oxygen and other nutrients to all the cells of the body. It has to pass through a vessel, and that's what we are referring to today as the blood vessel. So the blood vessels, they are basically of three types. We have the artery, you have the veins, and you have the capillaries. With the aid of these vessels, blood is able to move from the heart to other part of the body, and from all the other part of the body back to the heart. And here you have a representation of what we are talking about. Look at it here. You have the artery coming right from the heart, and then divide into the arterioles. Okay, the arterioles forming the capillaries that you have here, and eventually dividing into venules, and the venules uniting to form what we refer to the vein. Okay, so let's go now to talk about the arteries. An artery is any blood vessel which carry blood away from the heart. After the blood has been oxygenated, the artery will carry the blood from the heart to every part of the body, to all the cells of the body. Now, the artery carry, number one, oxygenated blood from the heart to other part of the body, with the exception of pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery carries the oxygenated blood away from the heart to the lungs. I'm now talking about the characteristics and functions of artery. Okay, so the pulmonary artery will take the oxygenated blood from the heart to the lung for oxygenation. Then blood flows rapidly under high pressure, hence small lumen. You have small lumen in this case. That's in the case of artery, and the reason is because the blood in an artery is in a very high pressure. Okay, apart from that, walls have thick layer of muscle. The reason why they have thick layer of muscle because the blood are in high pressure. Okay, number 5 is the valves are not present except in the aorta with semilunar valve. Because the blood in the artery are in a very high pressure, there's no need of valve. As you know that valve basically prevent the backflow of blood, and that's where you have the semilunar valve. But in other arteries, in other vessels that are taking blood away from the heart, there is no need of valve. Then the artery also starts as large vessel from the heart, and then subdivide into different kind of artery that supply different organs of the body, and then into arteriole, which eventually join the vein through the blood capillaries. And the artery, they are also deep seated in the body. That means they are not surfacely located, they are deep in the body. When you look at your skin, you cannot see artery, you can only see a vein, because they are deeply seated in the body. Then blood flows in pulse as a result of the fact that the blood coming from flowing in an artery is coming from the heart, and the heart pumps the blood. So that's why the blood coming directly from the heart in the artery flows in pulse. Okay, so here you have the diagram of what an artery looks like, and you can see the lumen is small lumen. Other parts of the artery, I'm still going to come back to this in a while. Okay, so now let's talk about vein. Vein basically is any blood vessel which carry blood towards the heart, and that differentiates it from the artery. The artery take blood away from the heart, vein take blood towards the heart. What are the characteristics and function of vein? The vein basically return deoxygenated blood to the heart, so the blood will be oxygenated, with the exception of pulmonary veins. Pulmonary vein bring oxygenated blood from the lungs into the left auricle to transfer to the left ventricle, from where it will be pumped to the aorta and then to other parts of the body, the artery. So blood that flows in the vein, they flow gently under low pressure. Hence, the lumen is large than what you have in the artery. And apart from that, the walls also have thin layer of muscle. All this is because the blood flowing in the vein, they are at a low pressure. So because it's of low pressure, there's large lumen. Because of low pressure, the layer is also thin. Then there are valves present. Why are there valves present? Because the blood flowing in the vein is at low pressure. So if there are no valve to stop the backflow of blood, the blood can easily return back, okay, into the other part of the body instead of going to the heart for oxygenation. So the valves here will also help to prevent the backflow of blood. Why is there no valve in artery? Because the blood in artery are of higher pressure. And then in this case, in the case of vein, blood, the vein starts as a tiny vessels in the tissues, and then unite and reunite into a large one, like I showed you earlier, from venous into vein. Okay, then the veins are also superficially seated in the body. If you look at some part of your skin, you can easily see your vein. For example, you've gone to the hospital and then they want to administer either a drip or want to administer an injection intravenously. Okay, they look at the surface of your skin and try to locate the vein through which that is done. So they are superficially located, and there are no pores in the blood flow, because the blood is not coming from the heart. The blood is rather going from other parts of the body to the heart. So there's no pause, unlike what you have in the artery. So this is the structure or picture of a vein. You can see what you have here, the valve opening for the blood to pass, and after the blood has passed, you can see the valve closing, so it will prevent a back flow, so that the blood cannot move back to other where it's coming from. So finally, let me quickly talk about capillary. The capillaries, they are tiny blood vessels joining the arteries to the vein. They join the arteries to the vein. So the characteristics of capillaries include: number one, they carry mixed oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, why artery carry oxygenated blood, vein carry deoxygenated blood? The capillary that unite the two of them carry a mix of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, and blood flow is slow and is also in a falling pressure, because the blood is now about to return back to the heart for oxygenation. Okay, so, and then it's also one cell thick, no valve present in the case of capillaries, because the blood is at a reduced pressure. Okay, it starts as arterioles and divide into venous. Okay, let me quickly go back to show you what I mean by that. Okay, look at this picture. The capillary is starting as arteriole, and then eventually forms what? It forms a venous, okay, which eventually returns blood back to the heart. Okay, so they are also intermediately seated. That means they are in between the artery and the vein. Okay, they are intermediately seated and no pause in the blood flow. Okay, here you have the diagram showing the artery, the vein, and the capillary. But the capillary, as you can see, is intermediate. That means it's between an artery and the vein. And you can see the exchange taking place here because the blood that is coming from the heart is rich in oxygen and also in other nutrients. Those other nutrients, you can see them, okay, being distributed into the capillary, then to the organ, then to the tissue and the cells of the body. And then the waste products like carbon dioxide and urea and other waste products are now going back into the vessels so that they can be returned to other parts or to the heart for oxygenation and to the places where they need to be excreted. Okay, this picture here shows the comparison between an artery, vein, and capillary. You can see the thick outer wall. You can see the small lumen. In the case of vein, see the large lumen. See the thin and then for capillary, very small lumen, and also the wall is made up of a single layer, unlike what you have in capillary having more than one layer, the vein also having more than one layer. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope and the differences, the functions, okay, and properties of artery, vein, and capillary. So we continue in the next video on the transport in plant. Thank you very much for watching once again. See you in the next